It is game week 8 in FPL, and already so many players are hitting the big red wildcard button. In today's episode, I give you two sides to the story. On the one hand, for you players who have not hit your wildcard, I'll give you some reassurance and I'll tell you why that might actually be the right decision. For the other side, for those of you who already have hit the wildcard button, I give you the perfect wildcard team and why you should be using it this week. Let's go.
Here we go.
First things first, welcome to the Lost in Possession podcast. My name is Jordan, and if you're here for the first time or you're not yet subscribed, please do us a favor and yourselves a favor and consider hitting that subscribe button today. As I said, completely free to do so. As always, it's weekly football content, weekly FPL content, and there is no charge. So please do us a favor, hit that subscribe button. In today's episode, as I've said already, Game week 8, so many players are already hitting the wildcard button. We're seeing a lot of the big FPL accounts doing it, losing their heads potentially slightly. So in today's episode, I'm going to give you the pros, going to give you the cons, and also give you a perfect wildcard team. So before we get started, let's do a little overview of the Lost in Possession FPL League. For those who are already in it, congratulations. And here is the top 5. As you can see, I am leading by example. Second place at the minute, just 2 points off the leader. I'm trying to lead the way. I'm trying to show you guys and lead by example. So if you're not already subscribed, now might be a good time to do so. That aside, we've got to give Tony Tam a shout out. 453, current leader. Shout out to the guys shown here in the top 5. Keep it going, boys. But Tony, I'm coming for the top slot. Now, let's do a quick review of my game week 7. Let's be fair, I have the absolute dream start. Aston Villa versus Brighton was the early kickoff, and my first transfer I did last game week was get Jackson out for obvious reasons, bad fixtures and suspension. I got Watkins in without hesitation, and my word, did it pay off. 23 points. Incredible performance, incredible result, and that really kick-started my week. Now, looking outside of Watkins, admittedly, he did make up the majority of my points. You look at the likes of Shaw, Son getting me 7-pointers, Haaland extremely disappointing this week. But overall, I ended up feeling disappointed with my week. Although I was above average, although I did progress and get green arrows, I felt left a little bit down. Gordon only 5 points. I would have expected more. Again, Foden only 2 points. Although having Bell in the team, got to rep my name. Having Bell in with a double game week, I kind of hope Luton would somewhere get more points than that, but maybe that's a bit of naivety on my front. But yeah, not a bad week at all. Johnson on my bench, obviously getting 9 points. That's standard. But look, I was never gonna start him away at Old Trafford, regardless of form. So not too beat up there. But again, green arrows, good points haul, good transfer in with Watkins. One thing I also did was bring in Gordon for Saka. So in the end, that kind of proved a bit of an error because I believe the rumours. I thought Saka was out and was not going to play. I brought in Gordon based on Newcastle's run of fixtures, Gordon's good form. Frustratingly, Saka then did start. Gordon's points haul wasn't great. And also he picked up another yellow. Which means he's now out, suspended for the next game week. So a little bit of frustration, but we move. And in terms of my ranking in the world, just around the 225k mark worldwide, which I want to get to the top 100k. That's my goal for the season. But all in all, considering how well or maybe not so well this season's gone so far for most FPL players and FPL YouTubers, I don't think being 225th, 225k in the world is that bad. So I think I'm in an okay spot at the minute. So let's get to the first half of this episode. Now, there's a big bulk of players who have already flocked their wildcard for potentially some obvious reasons, but I'm here to say and to give you guys the reasons why actually not to wildcard and why that all these people flocking to their wildcards could be a mistake. Now, I use the word flocking, you'll notice, and my first point is simple. Do not be a sheep. It's very easy, particularly when you follow all these massive FPL YouTubers or FPL influencers, whatever you want to call. As soon as they use their wild card, it's very easy to just go, oh, I'm going to use my wild card. Now, what I would say is, yes, it kind of makes sense, particularly if you've got a similar team to them, but you don't just want to follow other people. The way you're going to get in the top 10, 20, 30K in the world is not always by following other people. It's by making your own decisions, getting in, a couple of differentials, or more importantly, maybe delaying your wild card when everyone else is using it because maybe you just don't need to. So the second point I want to make is try and work out how many changes you actually need to make on the wild card. Because I was looking at mine, and we'll get to my team in a minute. I'm sort of weighing it up at the minute because I'm looking at the team and I'm thinking, do I actually need to change my entire team? And personally, I don't think I do. So, in terms of a good number, I'd probably personally say somewhere between 5 and 7 changes might just be enough to use a wild card. But if you're looking at your team and you only feel like you need to make maybe 2, 3, 4 changes, I actually don't think using a wild card makes the most sense. I think you could potentially take a -4 or just look at the fixtures ahead. Could you maybe, I guess my fourth point here is, could you just take one, maybe -4 hit to avoid using the wild card, which would then set you up nicely? And again, we're only in game week 8, and you don't get another wild card till after game week 20. So it's a long old way to survive once you've used your wild card. So I think that is a key consideration that not many people are using. And what I do think has probably happened is a lot of the big YouTubers, big FPL players have maybe had a bad game week. You've got now a few injury doubts, suspensions, and everyone's panicking. So bear all that in mind. Don't just use your wild card because you want to follow everyone else. Have a consideration how many transfers do you actually need to make. Could you just take a -4 and actually then use a wild card when clearly not every other player in the game is going to have it. So it's not all bad. If you've not used a wild card yet, don't panic. Consider these options, then make your decision. So moving on to my team and in terms of where I'm at. So as I said, initially I was absolutely not going to use my wild card. And for the reasons basically I've just said, I didn't want to do it. Now, as the week's progressing, I'll be honest, I am leaning more towards using my wild card. The reason I say that is because I've got a couple of changes that I have to make. For example, Chilwell. I have currently got one free transfer. But let's say you take out Chilwell, maybe for a Matty Cash, someone like that with a good run of fixtures. Looking at this team here, maybe let's say Cash would be on my starting lineup over Estupiñán. There has been a couple of injury rumours, nothing confirmed yet on Estupiñán as well, by the way. That's also a doubt creeping into my mind. But Gordon, a little bit of an error on my part, but Gordon did pick up a yellow card again and is therefore now suspended. So he won't feature in this game week for me. I wasn't considering starting Bell, obviously, at home to Spurs, but again, he's got an injury concern. Looking at this team, Saliba at home to Man City, do I think he's going to keep a clean sheet or getting an attack in return? Probably not. Shaw, I'm pretty happy with. But then we've got Foden, again, away to Arsenal. Is he going to get more than, an assist? Probably not. And then United, I've got Fernandes, but you've got United who are just in terrible form. And Burmo, Brentford have been awful. Brentford have been awful. They're away to Man United. I know everyone seems to get a win away to Man United at the minute, but I'm looking at Burmo going, do I really want you in my team? So as it stands, full disclosure, I've not hit the wildcard button, but I'll be honest, I am very, very closely considering it. So yeah, that's where I'm at. So what we'll do now, we'll have a little look at the FDR, but what I'm going to do, and this is for you guys, I guess, who are considering using your wildcard or have hit your wildcard button. I want to throw a few ideas in your head here. Let me know your thoughts in the comments as always. And I guess this is a good chance to mention, if you're not already, give us a follow. The details are obviously on the screen. Give us a follow on Instagram. Give us a follow on TikTok. We're regularly posting football near daily football content, all the links to our latest podcasts, FPL content, FPL tips, the absolute lot. And we do love to engage with you guys. I think we've almost got probably 100% reply rate on comments, on DMs. So genuinely, we, unlike many of the big, YouTubers who have millions of subscribers, we do actively want to engage our community. So make sure you're following us on those platforms. So let's get into the wild card. Again, this is a provisional, so don't start ripping into me. But this is roughly how I would probably want my wildcard draft if I go ahead to look at it. So I've only initially mocked this one team up. What this would mean, going back to my previous point, is this would be 5 actual changes from my current team. But I'll be honest, I'll touch on it in a sec, but Saliba probably wouldn't stick in this team. So in real terms, it would be 6 changes. And with this current setup here, it would leave me with 1.8 mil left in the bank. So let me just explain my thinking on some of these. So Turner and Johnston are my current goalkeepers. Now, for a 4 mil and a 4.5, they've both been starting. There was some concerns that with the new keeper signings in both clubs, they'd get kicked out. But actually, in my opinion, the performances of both these keepers have been very, very strong. And I think despite the doubts for both of these keepers to suddenly lose form and both get dropped, I actually don't see happening. So rather than panicking, the only other consideration I had was maybe Johnston to Areola to save a little bit of money. But for me, I'm fairly happy with my keepers. Talking through the defense, Udogie, I have not had him in my team at any point yet. I know everyone has. You look at the fixtures here, and again, I've included a bit of a longer FDR here because, as I said, if you're using your wild card, you've got to know what you're doing up until game week 20. So you do actually need to think quite far ahead. But you come here, Luton away, Fulham at home, Palace away, Chelsea at home, Wolves away, Villa at home. That's Spurs' next 6 fixtures. That looks pretty good in my opinion. And you've got to consider that Spurs are currently overperforming where many people thought they were. So I think Spurs for this wildcard team, a Spurs defender is a must in my opinion. And for me, Udogie gets you those defensive points, but he also gets high up the pitch. So he will, in my opinion, be getting 2-3 assists over that period. Next up, Cash, touching it. Absolutely same principle applies here. This isn't a surprise pick at all. We've seen he can score goals. We've seen he can get assists. And when you sit there and look at Villa's fixtures, again, based on the FDR, you're looking at their next 7 games being pretty good. Spurs away, obviously, is a tough one. I'd argue that should be darker with their current form. But Villa's run is fantastic. So, again, I think a Villa defender, is essential for this run. And on the same point, Watkins, you can see in my team, my transfer timing and Watkins proved perfect. He is going absolutely nowhere. Wouldn't be surprised if he went up in price because everyone's going to flock to him for all the reasons I've just said. Now, talking Newcastle, again, let's go back to the FDR. Newcastle have got a good run now. So again, I'm kind of picking your teams for you, but a Newcastle defender is essential. Now, my current dilemma is I've not had Trippier in my team. I've had Shaw. A lot of people have had Trippier, who's been on an absolute FPL points tear up in the last few game weeks. So if I had picked Trippier over Shaw and managed to work it, I would be so much higher up than where I am now. Would definitely be top of the lost in possession league. But the question is the 1.8 mil extra worth the money? Now, recent evidence suggests that actually paying the extra money for Trippier is worth it. But that would leave me with no money in the bank and not many options. And also, surely Trippier's run, he can't be getting 3 assists a game. He can't be getting an assist a game, surely. So, I don't know. With him, that's where I'm at. At the minute, I'd have Shaw in my wildcard team. But I'd put myself in a position where if Trippier continues the run, I'm in trouble of slipping down the league table. So bit of an issue there. Let's move on to the midfield. So Gordon, I've touched on. Yes, he's suspended, but if you look at their run ahead and his form and the fact Harvey Barnes is out, I would actually put him in your wildcard team and just bench him for one game week. Not an issue at all. Son needs no introduction. In form, Spurs, great run of fixtures. He's the man. He's involved in everything. So absolutely no doubts here. The one that's a bit of a curveball, I don't think it's that surprising, but the one I think is probably least owned out of the midfield is Luis Diaz. Now, again, we all know what happened at the weekend. He scored. Trust me, a player who can score. Yes, we all know it's ruled out. We all know the controversy. So far, Diaz has been, for me, the most impressive Liverpool player. He's so skillful. He's so threatening. He scores goals. He gets into good positions. And you look at Liverpool's run: Brighton, Everton, Forest, Luton, Brentford. Then they've got City after that. Great run of fixtures. Diaz is going to get attacking returns. And if anything, the dodgy Spurs decision will make him want to bounce back and get even more goals. So for me, I see a lot of people saying Salah's essential, but I think Salah's 12.6 mil. Is Salah going to get... I know he's got the history. I know he's one of the most consistent FPL players of all time. I just don't think I can justify the extra 5 mil. That extra 5 mil, allows me to have Son instead of Maddison. That allows me to have, a Foden or a Bowen over a lower ranked midfielder. That's a bit more of a gamble. So personally for me, it might be controversial, but I think Diaz is a better pick than Salah based on the value. There's your headline. And outside of that, Bowen, again, it's kind of fairly obvious. None of this is remotely surprising, but Jared Bowen is the man for West Ham. You look at West Ham's run, again, tough game against Newcastle, but after that, they've got a fantastic run. Villa, Everton, Brentford, Forest, Burnley, Crystal Palace. Even after that, even if we get into game week 15, Spurs away is obviously a tough game, but Fulham, Wolves, there's a lot of good fixtures in there. And in my opinion, everything goes through him. Everything West Ham do in attack goes through him. He's got better finishing this season. We've seen it already. And for 7.2 mil with their run of fixtures, the way they're playing, I think Bowen is a fantastic shout in that midfield, and he's going to get FPL players some serious returns. Now, finally, I've touched on Watkins up front. Now, Haaland, don't be fooled. Don't be fooled by these fixtures. If there's any man who's capable of scoring in any fixture, it is Erling Haaland. Don't be that guy. That would be my advice on Haaland. Don't be that guy. Keep him in your team unless he gets an injury or just has an absolute nosedive in form. Has to be in the team, in my opinion. Now, to finish this episode on, I might get some stick for this one, but Højlund for Man United. This is a bit of a rogue pick for a wild card because of the fact he's a new signing. He's not that proven in the Prem. He's not particularly cheap for a third option striker. However, you look at United's fixtures and they're not terrible. Obviously, you've got Man City at home, but still a home game. We've seen in the derby before, United can beat City. And I do still think Højlund is capable of getting a goal in that fixture. Now, let's take out Man City. Brentford at home, Sheffield United away, Fulham away, Luton at home, Everton away, before things get a little bit more tricky. Now, we saw last night in the Champions League, Højlund was on fire. Make no mistake, United lost and the result was terrible, but Højlund looked on fire. Strong, aggressive, pacey, with some good finishes. Now, yes, United's form is the biggest concern here, but I actually do think this could be a phenomenal attacking front three because you've got three players who I think will hit form at the right time, have fairly decent fixtures, and in my opinion, will be starting every game. Bear in mind, Højlund didn't get subbed off yesterday. That's how good he was. So I think that's probably my most rogue pick in this wildcard team. But I actually think he could be a differential gem that will get you guys to that next level and get you up the league table. So there you have it. I've gone through a lot. today. As always, please let me know your thoughts in the comments on Instagram, on TikTok of this episode. And let us know, are you going to wildcard? What half are you in? Have you pressed the big red panic button on the wildcard? Or are you being a little bit different and holding fire? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. But as always, like, comment, and subscribe. You know the drill.